What's the best investment for teachers in 2025? Is it crypto, real estate? Is it stocks, selling teaching resources online? Don't be silly, it's none of those. There's one single investment that you should be making as a teacher. There's never been a window of opportunity like this for teachers to pretty much double, triple, even quadruple their teaching income very quickly. Plus, it's exactly how my client, Evan, made an additional 6 figures alongside his classroom job. So stick with me in this video. I'll show you exactly what the best investment is for teachers in 2025. You're gonna love this. So there's one investment that can make all the difference for teachers in 2025. And in this video, I'll share with you exactly what it is and how you can double, triple, even quadruple your teaching income without teaching more hours, without having to quit the profession. And you can actually use your teaching experience, your skills, your expertise to massively change the trajectory of your income security, your financial freedom, and your job satisfaction in 2025. So the investment that you decide to make is really important. In this video, we'll cover exactly what it is. So let's get to it. So first of all, if I share my screen, what are teachers doing to make incomes like this? Over here, 1 million in a 1-year period, 50 grand in 12 weeks, 10 grand in 14 days, 20 grand per month, 100K cash collected whilst working as a classroom teacher for Evan Roberts. Marcus Samuel hit 6 figures. Sajib hit 10K a month. Jared hit 31,000 in a single month cash collected. So what are they all doing? Well, if you haven't guessed already, it's online tutoring. They're tapping into the booming online tutoring space. And in this video, I'll share with you exactly how you can do so as well, and exactly what you need to invest in to do exactly like what I said, double, triple, quadruple, even 10x your current teaching income. This is the number one investment you can make as a teacher in 2025, because you could go and invest into stocks. You could sell resources on teachers pay teachers or whatever it is. You could go and invest into crypto or real estate. But why not use the experience you've already got to make sure that you can get paid what you deserve as a teacher? And here's why. Look, online tutoring is a golden ticket for teachers in 2025. If you check out Zoom's growth as a company, but pre-pandemic on my screen, 2019, it was at 330 million in annual revenue, okay? By the end of 2024, it was at 4.53 billion. And you can see here the headline says the growth slow to a crawl, but that's because Zoom was the market leader at the time. Now there's a ton of other different video hosting softwares that tons of people are using worldwide, right? So just a little bit more competition now, but this just shows you the growth of these video conferencing softwares. Okay, so the pandemic changed the way that education is going to be delivered forever, whether you like it or not. But as a teacher, you can use this to your advantage as an opportunity to start increasing your teaching income. So all you need to figure out is what to invest into, what skills you should invest into, that you are actually in control of your own future, own destiny, because you've already got the teaching skills, so why not put them to use? Heck, you know, like if you've got to go and learn how to invest into stocks or property or whatever it is, you're going to have to spend a ton of time figuring out a new skill, a skill that you don't already have, right? But why not start with something you've already got, which is your teaching skills and your expertise. You know how to get students results. So this is a much better investment, because if you check here on my other image I've got on the screen, here's the online tutoring growth trajectory over the next kind of 4 or 5 years, right? So 2024 to 2028, it's going to grow by $318 billion, okay? It's got a CAGR, which means capital annual growth rate of 19.83%. 15% and above is known as a booming industry. So as a teacher, we are living in a space where there's never been a window of opportunity like this. And we all know the people who win in the stock market are the people who get in at the right time. Well, that time for teachers is right now. to get into the online tutoring space and start tapping into it to do what you're actually good at, and that's teach, but just do so in a way where you can teach on your own terms. Okay, just like my clients I showed at the start of this screen share are already doing. Okay, because those teachers, and if we go back and have a look, here's Quinita. Quinita did this in 12 weeks. You can see here, 50K in sales since I quit teaching in June. 12 weeks later, she bought 50 grand in. You know, Luke Savin over here. Luke Savin, what an insane day, a 10 grand month. The previous year before that, he was teaching in the classroom. Okay, he's pretty much 4x'd his income, his monthly income, using skills that he already had. He just chose to invest into the most important thing, and that was himself, to learn skill sets, to take his expertise online. Tara, let's zoom in. 100 grand since January and 20K months. How? You know, so Tara joined and started working with us here at the Teacher Project in about January sort of time, or the back end of 2023. And then she started to launch her business, try and recruit students in the January of 2024. Well, by April, she'd left her classroom job. She was able to go full time because she'd replaced her entire teaching salary. And my point is, these teachers don't have more time in their days than you. Okay, they aren't necessarily better teachers. They just invested into the right things. Instead of relying on the stock market or relying on real estate, they did something that they can actually control, right? And that's using their expertise, the time and energy they can put into something they're already good at to reap the returns and the rewards, all right? And you can do the same, and we'll go through it inside of this video. So why is this the best investment? Okay, well, let me show you. So for example here, teaching one-on-one is one way, okay? Teaching one-on-one is one way that you could do it, and I'm going to share this with you, but the only issue is you're investing your time. It's kind of like if you try and build a one-on-one tutoring business, and I'm sharing this with you because I want you to get it right. I want to show you how this can be the best investment for you in 2025. So if you're a one-on-one tutor, let's say that you invest in the skill sets to learn how to market yourself. And plus, there's no really upfront costs in starting an online tutoring business. That's why it's the best investment, because in the beginning, you just got to invest a little bit of time, okay? Now, let's say that you start teaching on one-on-one. If I zoom in on this calendar here, you can see on the screen. So what I could do is I could start to sell my time, right? Which you don't really want to sell your time in terms of hours that you give away to teach, because what then happens is you can't build a business that's actually scalable where you can keep growing it. It ends up having a ceiling on it. Here's why. Because if I was to take in 20 students, let's say, just for example, I'm going to fill all of these slots, as you can see, because realistically, you're going to get students to teach that you can only teach after school, right? Unless you're doing homeschool kids or students in a different country and it works out that you could teach in the day. But the majority of what teachers are going to do, they're probably going to teach a few classes after school once the kids in their own country get home from school, right? And that's generally how the tutoring space works. So let's say that you do that. Well, if you were to look at each of these days, Monday through Friday, then there's only going to be a certain amount of hours that you can teach in the evenings, right? Now, let's say that you charge $50 an hour, right? Well, in this example, you're doing 20 sessions a week, 20 times 5 is 10, so you're making $1,000 a week, right? But at least with this, if you look at your daytime is completely free. You can do what you want with it. Plus, you're doing it remotely, and you could actually do this from anywhere, so you could travel if you so wished, right? You could move to a completely different country where the cost of living is better, where the lifestyle is better for you. So actually your bills would go down, and you could live a better quality of life, and you could just do a few hours teaching in the evenings. So this is one way you can do it, okay? One-on-one teaching is an option, okay, to quickly replace your teaching salary. But the only issue is, as I said, it's not very scalable. You're placing a ceiling on it because there's only going to be so much that parents or students are going to be willing to pay for a 1 hour slot. Plus, when you sell your time by the hour like this, you get clients, so parents and students, that are so focused and fixed on what goes on in that specific hour. So they place a value, a dollar amount or a pound amount of what that hour is actually worth. Okay, so that's why you can only charge up to a certain amount. And of course, that depends on your teaching experience as well, if you've already got students. So absolutely, you could charge more than $50. But what I'm saying is there's only going to go to a certain limit. And then plus, once you've sold all your time, you can't really grow unless you hire another teacher, and then you've got to pay the other teacher most of that one-on-one fee anyway, okay? So, and plus, you probably won't have the time, because you filled your schedule up, to fill the other teacher's schedule, okay? So this is one way you can do it, but your investment is time. You're kind of selling your time. So this is not what you should do. It might be a good place to start to gain some initial experience, but eventually as a teacher, what you're going to want to do is transition into a group model, because when you switch to groups, there's no ceiling on the amount of income that you can make, the impact that you can have, and you're not sacrificing your time. And I'll show you why, okay? So, and then after this, I'll show you exactly how you can price your group tutoring services, okay? And exactly how you could price if you're starting from scratch, if you're already working with students, when to raise your rates, everything like that. And then we'll look at what you need to go and invest into to be able to get students that are going to pay you that amount. Okay. So let's say that I teach groups online. I form 8 groups, right? I form 8 groups, and let's just say that you have 5 students in the group. So that's 40 students, right? If I've got 8, hope my maths is good. Yeah, 8 times 5, 40, right? So I've got 40 students here. Now, with a group, I'm not so much focused on the actual hour, because I'm going to provide other things, and I'm going to instead of selling my time by the hour, I'm going to sell a semester or a 12-week block, right? And in that time frame, they're going to get access to a weekly lesson. I might have some sort of other support or feedback or check-in that I can provide as well. So if you think about it like this, if I send my daughter, which I do, to a basketball club after school, that she goes to an extracurricular activity, they charge me by the term, right? So from Christmas till Easter, let's say at school, they don't charge me by the hour. They say, hey, basketball club this term is worth X. Now, if I miss a week, which we have done because there was times when we weren't going to be available to go, I'm not going to turn around and say, oh, my daughter can't be there this week, because it's a group class, right? Where if it's a one-on-one session, I'm going to call the teacher up and I'm going to say, hey, look, like my daughter can't be there this week. Can we reschedule? Whereas in a group, the parents aren't going to do that because it's set. So you sell it just like you would an extracurricular activity club at school, where the parents are already willing to send their kids in a group to. Okay, so it's just the same. Okay, but instead of being extracurricular, it's tutoring. It's going to benefit them still. The parents could have an option to get their kids to sit and watch Netflix or play computer games or do whatever the hell they do at home. So if you position this correctly inside of the marketplace and you learn the skills and you invest into the skills on how to communicate that to the parents, obviously there's going to be a lot of parents who are going to want to give their kids the edge like this. So let's say I have 40 kids, all right? Now they all pay me $500 or $500, pounds, whatever you want to call it, for a 12-week sign-up period. Now, if I was to break that down into how many lessons there are, it works out to about 41.66. So let's just call it 40, all right, just for ease. So if I've got 5 students in a group, each pay me $40 or £40, okay, and that's what it worked out to. Then from here, 5 times 4 is 200, actually. So I would have, and let me just do my math very quickly. I'm just going to make sure I've absolutely got this right for you. Before, as teachers, I know I'll get grilled. So let's say 500 divided by 12 is exactly what I said. Yeah, 41.66. I'm right. Okay. So I put $100 on here, but if I've got 5 students in a class, that's what it works out. 5 times 4 is actually $40 times 5, is 200. So I'd be making, although it says 100 on my screen, I'd actually be making $200 or £200 per hour, as opposed to the $50 up here if I was selling my time one-on-one. Now, at this point, there's no ceiling, because I could increase the student numbers if I so wished past 5, right? And plus the reason why this is, so from there, with that example, 200 times 8, that's 1,600 a week, and I'm teaching way less hours. Now I've also built something that's scalable, because I could put in another hour in the day if I wanted to, and that would mean I'm only teaching 3 hours, And you would far surpass your teaching salary at that. And this is presuming you don't ever increase your rates, which you absolutely could do. You could make things more valuable by adding in something like an office hours session or a homework club that could just be 1 or 2 times a week. And you could have all of the students that you have in all of your groups could attend to that. And we've seen our clients here at the Teach Project do that really well. And it's a value add. You could add in a 6-week check-in into that 12-week time frame when they sign up. You could have some sort of community group to lead and guide the parents so they're not just isolated on what goes on in the 1-hour group session that they get. You could add a second group session for your students as well, and they get 2 sessions a week, okay? Now, the beauty of this is, of course, also, let's say that I was going to hire it. Let's say that I was charging $50 an hour and I was teaching one-on-one. In the previous example I shared with you, well, if I was to hire another tutor to do that, I'm probably going to have to give more than half of the lesson fee away. But if I then say I'm making $200 per hour with 5 group students in it, and that's what it kind of works out to, then of course I could still pay the tutor $50 or £50, and I'd still keep $150 for myself. And again, this is presuming you don't increase the student numbers in the group or increase your rate. Okay, so you can just keep duplicating this, and that's how you can turn this into a real business. All right, so group tutoring, absolutely. And of course, the more students you help, more impact you're going to have. You can't have much impact teaching one-on-one, right? So here's how you then scale it around the math, so you can see that this is the best investment for teachers in 2025. So here's how you scale. Now, obviously, over time, you will increase your rate. In the beginning, what we found works really well for teachers is $500 for 12 weeks. Now, of course, you might even start charging a little bit less than that and just take students in for 30 days just to gain some case studies. And we absolutely do encourage that to some teachers that we work with so they can gain some initial experience. But once you've got some testimonials and you've validated your experience online, then the minimum you're really going to want to charge is like $500 or pounds for a 12-week sign-up, okay? And then you can really go up to about $1,000 with that. And it does depend on the offer. Offer meaning the subject you teach, the type of student you're going to be helping, the results that you have as well, your sales skills. And so again, this is why the key skills to launch your online tutoring business and scale it, what you need to invest in 2025, so you don't miss out on this window of opportunity. Look, we don't know if it's going to come around again. So we've got tutors charging upwards of $3,500, but again, they're more experienced, they've developed their business, so you could eventually get there as well. But let's just say that you get yourself to $1,000 per 12 weeks, okay? Now, let's say you then teach 5 students a group, okay? That's 5. Those 5 students, you actually, if you were charging $1,000, maybe you include a second class in there, okay? So they actually have 2 one-hour classes per week, okay? So of course, if you recruit 10 students, you form 2 groups, 2 hours a week, that's 4 hours teaching, and you've just made $10K. Because if you're charging as a block, you know that if I want to hit $10K and my rate is $1,000 for 12 weeks, well, now I've actually got a mathematical equation to get myself to a 6-figure income. Okay, I know I just need to get 10. I know I need to just get 10 students this month, right? 10 times $1,000, $10K. So now you've actually got a mathematical route to scale your business or scale your teaching income to the level that you want, right? So now let's say that 5 groups, so I enroll 25 students. I'm now formed 5 groups, right? 25 divided by 5. If you've got 5 in a group, that's 5, right? So I've got 5 groups. They each see me 2 hours a week, 10 hours teaching, okay? And plus, if I charge $1,000, 25 times $1,000 is 25K, okay? And that's every 12 weeks. So if those students were to continue working with me, that's around about 12, that's around about like 100K a year, right? It's probably gonna be 4 weeks of the year, whatever, where you're not teaching. Plus, this is presuming that you don't ever fill the group classes. Because if you don't retain a student, you're not going to retain everybody. That would be crazy to think you're going to get 100% retention rate, okay, when you're building a business like this. But because you've invested in gaining skills to know how to get students and market yourself as a teacher and grow your business, obviously you're going to be able to recruit a new student to fill that spot. Okay, so you can always be recruiting. And as I shared in the example above, you can, of course, you don't have to stop with this model. You're going to have more time if you teach groups because you probably cap yourself at 10 hours, right? Otherwise, you're not going to have time to do more marketing, take new enrollment calls, to fill other teachers' timetables, and so on. So this is just you at minimum. Now you can scale it. So you can increase the rate, group size, and hire tutors, like I was just talking about. So example, let's say that based on what you teach, you feel confident to boost it to 10 students a group. Okay, well, that doubles your business, 200K a year. Let's say you hire 2 more tutors, that's 300K a year. And you could absolutely get there, right? Within like the next 12 months, because the teacher's already doing it. I just shared them with you. So you can only imagine how well this could scale within the next 5 years or the next 10 years, because students are always going to need educating. And if the pandemic changed the world, the way that the world's going to be educated forever, and more parents and students open to getting tutoring, and it's becoming more normal, this is the time to get in, right, in 2025. So now let me show you how you would price this in. So you can see how this can scale. Where should you start based on where you're starting from? And that does depend on your start point, on your expertise. So I'm going to walk you through some different pricing strategies, and then we'll look at the skills that you need to invest into to pull this off. Okay? So let's look at pricing strategy number 1. So pricing strategy number 1, this is where we get teachers to start who are just beginning of what we found works. Okay, because Bill Gates says, right, most people overestimate what they can do in a month or a year, but underestimate what they can do in a decade. Guys, quick interrupt. I hope you're enjoying the video, but I wanted to make sure you picked up your copy of Teaching on Your Own Terms. It's my best-selling book, and it shares with you the exact 5 steps that I've used with over 2,000 teachers at this point, helping them build their dream online teaching businesses. It went to bestseller in 7 categories. It's been featured by NASDAQ in Times Square, New York City. And I know you're going to love it. Inside of the book, you're going to learn things like how to position yourself as the go-to tutor in the marketplace, and the offer that you can create to get your ideal students reaching out, and how to communicate that. I'll share with you what I've seen as the best advertising strategies to get in front of new students and parents who want what you've got, how to sell your services, and everything you actually need to include in an online group tutoring business to make sure your students crush it and get great results. There's some free gifts and bonuses in there. I think in the first couple of pages, there's a link. You can go and grab some free gifts on me, but I know you're going to love it. Teaching on Your Own Terms. I'll leave a link down below in the comments, and go and pick up your copy today. So the most important thing now is just to invest into gaining the skills to learn how to get students, okay? Most people are just so attached to instant gratification that they want the big result now. But hang on a minute, as a teacher, didn't you go to university and study your butt off to gain the skill sets to then go and get a teaching job that you're probably disappointed in your income, you're probably disappointed in your work-life balance? So it would be crazy to think that you would build a business without the investment of energy, of time, and gaining the skill sets, so the finances to be able to do that, and expect just with a wave of a magic wand, you'd have like a 6-figure business. Obviously, it doesn't work like that. So we've found that the best way to get started, if you've got 0 experience, is to start with the case study offer. Okay, so goals behind this. If you've got 0 teaching experience, you've never sold any tutoring services online, therefore you've got no students, it is going to be hard to, or harder, right, to, I'm not saying you can't do it, to charge a premium right out the gate. Okay, and therefore make sales. You absolutely can. If sales are more natural to you, you could probably start on pricing strategy number 2, which I'll come on to next. Okay, so if this is you, again, this isn't a race, it's not a sprint, okay, but it's most important is just to get in now and get started. So I would recommend just doing a 30-day case study offer where you simply just charge a lower rate, like a beta rate, to get your initial students. It's very irresistible because at the end of the day, they're investing into you, okay, without you having any online experience. So they've got to place a trust in you, right? But it's going to set you up for long-term success. And in exchange for that lower rate, they get a win because they get to learn from you. If you're a good teacher, you get a win because you get the students to gain some experience, validate your teaching methods online, and pick up some testimonials that are going to serve you and allow you to grow and scale long-term. Okay, this is way easier to sell if you're a beginner. Then after the case study period, you can then invite the students you've already worked with to extend and stay with you for another 12 weeks. And that's when you could switch to that 12-week model I was mentioning. Now, this helps you gain experience, as I say, while validating the teaching methods, allows you to collect testimonials. I recommend this, but if you feel that you're confident enough, you can start at phase 2 or strategy number 2, which I'll share in a second. How you'd price this, I would just do $97 or £97 for 30 days, to be honest. In terms of when you raise your rates and you stop delivering this case study offer, here's some insight on that. If your case study program is selling well, meaning every parent or student you speak to, 50% of them sign up and say, yes, I'm in, and they pay you the 97, I would just keep getting as many students as you can, and I'd fill all of the teaching time frame that you had with the beta groups. Because remember, it's only a 30-day period. You're then going to have the opportunity to upsell them, and at least you're going to gain a lot of testimonials, okay? The more results you'll get, like the more students you enroll in for this. Then I would say once you've got 5 testimonials, and when I say testimonial, I'm talking about parent and student jumping on and sharing their experience in a video with you, because this allows you to then market your services better and charge a higher rate. Yep. Now, in my first online business, okay, so once you do get those 5 students, that's when you would switch to the pricing strategy I'm going to share in a second, like $497, $500 to $2,000 plus for 12 weeks of tutoring. So in my first online business after I left teaching, I made 157 sales at $97. It was actually pounds, but pounds. Right, I did that in less than 30 days. It was like just over 3 weeks. And I just kept it running after that because I knew the more clients that I brought in, the more I'd be set up for long-term success in my business because I had more people to validate how I coach them. I would get more testimonials and more people to over-deliver to, as I was saying, an upsell who would pay me a bigger rate if they wanted to continue working with me because I'd already provided value up front. Okay, so once you've done that, you then move into pricing strategy number 2, and I call this the tier system. This is what we teach all of our clients once they've kind of gained some initial experience, if they needed to start at strategy number 1 to gain some initial experience with the case study offer. So goals behind the tier system. Again, we've been doing this for over 5 or coming up for 5 years now at this point. So we've tested all sorts of different pricing models. We've worked with thousands of teachers. I can just tell you that these are like the best rates to stick in between, okay? Now, we've seen what works, what doesn't. So I'm just going to tell you, like, here's what works. And this just applies to all tutoring niches online, okay? It does depend, though, how much you can charge. I will say this, on the amount of testimonials you have, which is why the case study offer is a great place to start. It does depend on your sales skills, which is, again, exactly why I'm leaving this video, because this is what you should be investing into as a teacher in 2025 because of the clear upside of what you can do as a teacher if you master this. It also depends on things like the quality of your marketing. Again, why this should be your number 1 investment, okay? Because if you get good at this, it's going to be very easy to grow and scale, doing something you love because you're more passionate about it rather than learning something completely new, okay? And you're in a booming industry, of course. And so just relying on your experience alone, it does mean nothing if you can't sell, if you can't learn to market, okay? So here's the pricing tiers. So tier 1, once you've gained some initial experience, you could start anywhere between $500 to $750 for 12 weeks, okay? Pricing number 2 is tier 2. Once you've kind of got good at selling that, and I'll tell you when you should look to move through the tiers in a second, $750 to $1,000. 3 is $1,000 to $1,500, $1,500 to $2,000 for 12 weeks at pricing tier 4. And then tier 5, $2,000 to $3,500 for 12 weeks. Okay. So a couple of things on pricing and when to raise price and when to progress through the tiers. So a quick rule of thumb also is if you are charging, let's say $500, okay, or £500 for 12 weeks of tutoring, if a parent wants to break that up into installments, I must add 20 to 25% on. So I might actually say the reason why I've got 500 to 750 here, because if they do want to break it up, I'm going to say, hey, look, you can break it up into installments, but it's going to be 750 if you need to have a payment plan. And the reason why I do that is because I don't just want everybody breaking it up into monthly installments as well. This is one of the biggest mistakes I see teachers make. Okay, they break it up and therefore they don't ever create margins to grow their business, hire tutors, provide better experience for the students by having better resources, be able to invest into growth in terms of investing into marketing and things like that, right? Because they're just getting paid these lower installment plans. So not everyone's going to place it and pay you the full amount up front. Some people are going to pay an installment plan, but this is why you should add on 20-25% because it does create an incentive for the students and parents to save, and some will pay you all up front. And that's going to make a massive difference inside of your business for cash flow, okay, and give you better margins, more profit, so that you can actually take this off. If you don't, I don't actually think you'll be successful with this, okay? Now, when do you progress through the tiers and when can you raise your rates? So let's say that you charge $500 for 12 weeks. I was just saying, student placing a payment plan, $750. Okay, when you raise the rate is if I'm enrolling 40%. So let's say that I speak to 10 students and 4 of them sign up out of every 10 that I speak to. I'm going to consider, and probably 50% is probably a little bit better, definitely 50% if you're there. I'm going to now think about moving to the next tier. So if I was on pricing tier 1, I would probably move to $750 for the 12 weeks, and then I would add 20-25% on if they wanted to break it in installments. Once I'm now closing, meaning enrolling 40% plus of the students at that new rate, that's when I'd move on to tier 2, and I could probably move in between. It doesn't have to be $750 or $1,000. I could go bang in the middle at like $900, right, for the 12 weeks, okay? So also, if you are getting 40% plus of people to consistently pay the full amount up front, that's also a good indication to raise your rate. Okay, so that's what you should consider when raising rate. Obviously, if it's bang on 40, you might hold it there and you might just work on improving your sales skills and investing into those skills so that you can raise your rate, okay, and take it closer to the higher 40s would probably be a little bit better. Okay. Now, the key here, though, is never charge by the hour. I explained that a second ago when I gave you the example of my daughter's basketball lessons, right? If it was just 1 hour, I was like, hey, no, we're not going this week. I'm not going to turn up because we're not going. So therefore, I'm not going to pay the hourly fee because I'm not there. But if I've played for the block and I've committed to that 12-week, that one term, obviously I've already paid. Okay. Now, so it's obviously unpredictable. You don't know what's going to come in. There's zero commitment, like the example I just gave you again, my daughter. Your cancellations got to deal with, and you don't have the margins to grow in terms of investing back into advertising and things like that. Okay, so really, really just take that advice. Don't charge by the hour. Okay, so what do you need to invest into? Well, there's 5 skills that you need to invest into as a teacher in 2025. So that you can build a business that gives you the growth that I just shared in terms of the impact that you can have, the income that you can earn, and independence that you can achieve with your own teaching schedule. Those 5 skills, positioning and messaging, meaning being able to attract and stand out to one type of student. And the reason why this is very important is you need to attract one type of student in the beginning so that they can be grouped. So for example, it might be a student who's in the 1st grade, who struggles with reading, who's behind, who wants to read on grade level. And so if I build a marketing message around that student, I've now got something to market, right? That's going to appeal to the parents of that type of student, of that exact student. So who's going to respond to my adverts when I start to advertise? That type of student. And if I'm speaking to that type of student, I can group them, okay? Plus, I'm going to look like the expert, which means I'm actually going to be able to charge a higher rate, a premium rate. If you think about a person who's got back pain, well, they're going to go to the chiropractor, right? Why? Because the chiropractor is the expert at solving people's back pain, right? He's known as the expert, or she's known as the expert. They have a plan, and people want that chiropractor's plan. There's more trust there because they're an expert at solving that particular problem. I wouldn't go to the GP if I had a bad back. right? I'm going to the chiropractor. So you need to look like this expert, and you need to be able to communicate with a great marketing message to the parents and students to attract the right student in that pays you what you're worth, and they can actually be grouped. Okay, otherwise you just don't have the foundations to make this successful. Okay, now demand creation is learning how to generate leads. Okay, and this is really important. If I share my screen here, you can do this two ways. Now, you can generate leads by using your time, which is sometimes a great place for teachers to start because you might not have the money or the finances to invest into tools and vehicles like sponsored and paid advertising on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or wherever, right? So or whatever platform you're going to use. And so you might not have the finances there. Well, at least you can invest time, right? So you've got one means of investing. Invest your time or invest the finances, depends what you've got more of, right? And if you don't have finances, you have to invest your time so that you can get the finances to then transfer and switch into investing finances to use paid marketing solutions. So just for an example, like here's an example of what our flow looks like when teachers need to start in a position of investing their time first, right? So let me just share with you. So for example here, we call this organic advertising. Let's say that you've got a $500 or £500 tutoring offer and you implement an organic advertising strategy with zero paid ads, you don't invest into marketing whatsoever. So over here, you're posting on Facebook and Instagram. And then the goal would be from there, obviously, to get someone into a messenger conversation, right? They're going to message you on Facebook or Instagram. Okay, from there, you're going to want to get them to book in a call on your calendar. Okay, so they book in a call. You're probably going to provide them some form of homework so you can build some trust, and it can just be any sort of resource, some info on you, just to build, again, like I said, someone that has just seen you online. So you want to build some initial value and trust up front. Then you have a sales call on Zoom. You can roll the student and you track this. But at the same time here, from Messenger, you're also collecting people's email addresses, their phone numbers. Maybe if you've got a Facebook group, a strategy you could use. Okay, you could grow your Facebook group, and you would do this so that you could nurture people, because not everybody's going to want to become a client or a student straight away. But if you follow up with them and you learn the skills of social media marketing, they'll come back around at some point. So let's say this. So here's how this could break down. Let's say that you sell a $500 tutoring offer. You implement that, no money on paid advertising. Maybe you make a post every day. So again, you're investing time with the strategy, 365 posts a year. Let's say you send 10 messages every single day. So if you send 10 new messages every single day and you learn how to do that, you invest into the skills to learn how to do that and who to message, and you do that 10 messages every day, that's 3,650 per year. Now let's say just 10% of the messages, once you get good at this, remember in the beginning, you're probably going to suck, right? It's going to be a little bit alien to you. Okay, and that's why most people give up with things, because they're just not willing to commit to learn stuff and get good at it. But the successful people, they commit. That's the difference. That's why not everybody is out there achieving the income that they want to make and living the lifestyle that they want to live, because they're not willing to commit. So let's say that you commit, right? If you're watching the end of this video, you're probably one of those people because you've committed to watching this far. So if 10% of people turn into bookings, it's 365 bookings a year. 25% of the people that book to speak with you, you turn them into students. That's 91 students. Okay, now let's say, do the math, 91 times 500, 45. Okay, now this is presuming you never raise your prices at any point and you only closed 25% of the students enrolled, 25% of the people you spoke to. Okay, and it's also presuming that none of those students ever extend to keep working with you. So you retain nobody, which is obviously unlikely to happen if you do a good job. So if you follow this, that's worst case scenario. That's almost the average teaching salary. And you don't have to go to work. You don't have to go into school. You can literally sit at home and do this, or you could do it for whatever you wanted to in the world, right? Now you know what to optimize. Now you've got some areas to improve. That's what a business is, right? You look at the constraint. What can I fix? What can I get better at? And now you know where to work. So messaging volume, I might up my volume to 30 messages a day, or I might train someone to do that for me. It's called leverage, right? I've figured it out myself. Now I'm going to pay somebody a small fee and I'm going to get them to do it for me. I'm going to teach them and train them. I'm going to transfer the skill. So you could have 5 people doing this for you. And so now you've suddenly could be just getting them to send 10 messages a day, or maybe they're sending 50 messages a day or 30. Let's say it's 30 and you've got 5 people doing that. So 150 messages being sent. Okay, 10% of bookings is obviously going to increase your sales. So this example, if it was just you just scaled to 30 messages a day, you maintain your 10% messages to booking, that's 10,950 messages, 1,095 bookings, 273 sales, and 136 grand. Again, presuming you never raise your rates, presuming you never extend any students, and presuming you never got better in improving your sales skills. And so you always just maintain the 25%. Unlikely to happen the longer along you do this, right? You're going to get better. Or you could just think, do you know what? I've got more student results now. This next year, I'm going to double my rates because I've got more results. My sales skills are better. So I'm more likely to be able to close sales. So now I could raise my rate to $1,000 and now I double my income. Okay, I could just get better at the sales skills and go from 25% to 40% of the enrollments that I'm speaking to. Okay, of the enrolling the students that I'm speaking to, 40% of them. That would mean 146 sales. And so the opportunities are endless with this. Okay, so this is why this is one of the most important skills that you must invest into in 2025 to be able to pull this off and to be able to build the online teaching business of your dreams. And so the other 3 here, so demand creation is obviously knowing how to generate leads, where to go and get them. The conversion element, that is the piece here where I was saying about homework, because if someone just sees you online and you speak to someone, you've got to get them to want to show up to a call with you. You've got to get them to have trust in you, right? And so that's the whole conversion element. That's knowing how to turn someone who sticks up their hand initially into, they've got attention, you get their attention. Now, how do you create desire with them? How do you convert them into wanting to go to the next step? So this is why this is a really important skill. This is kind of the marketing element, right? Advertising is one thing, getting people's attention, but the marketing is turning that attention into desire and then wanting to go to the next step. Okay, and just a lot of people fail to understand this, and therefore that's why a lot of teachers don't make this work, because they just learn to advertise, they don't learn to market, they don't invest into that skill. Okay, think about it like a conveyor belt. So if you were to generate a lead, i.e. someone who's interested, gives you their initial contact details, they're only at stage 1. You've got to move them on that conveyor belt and turn them into a paid client, a student. Okay, enrollment and sales, obviously sales skills. Then scalable delivery is learning how to sell, right? Is learning how, once you've sold, is learning how to deliver and fulfill to make sure the students get great results so you can collect testimonials, because the more testimonials you get, the better you're going to be able to market. All right. And you obviously have to master this because we're not teaching one-on-one. It's not in person. So you've got to make sure that you understand and learn how to sell, how to fulfill and deliver in a group where you don't sacrifice student results. So it's not just what happens in the lesson as such, it's everything that goes around the lesson. Okay, the support that you provide to your students so that they're not just dependent upon your teaching skills in the actual lesson, right? You've got to create the right learning environment online. Okay, so they are the best skills that you can invest into in 2025 as a teacher. And I showed you the results that are possible from other teachers who've already invested into mastering these skills. The best investment that you can make in 2025 is in yourself, learning new skills to transform your teaching career so that you can start increasing your income, your impact, and your teaching independence and teach on your own terms. Which leads me into this. If you would like to master these 5 skills, you want to learn a little bit more about them, and you haven't picked up my best-selling book yet, you can go and grab a copy. It's called Teaching on Your Own Terms. I break down everything I've just shared of these 5 skills in more depth in the book. Plus, inside on the first few pages, you can go and get access to a free course to help you get started this with. The course teaches you all about the positioning and messaging element, because that's the most important part. So the book's Teaching on Your Own Terms. You can grab it on my site. I'll leave a link down below, or you can head to Amazon and get it as well. went to bestseller in 7 categories. That's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel or hit like or leave a comment. Let me know what you want to see next wherever you're watching this video, and stay tuned for the next one. See you soon.